Hello, and welcome to the first episode of the Press Box Hat Trick on YouTube. Today I'm joined by my predecessor, Olivier Neven, to talk a little bit about what he's up to post graduation and the world of sports. Thanks for listening. I'm joined today with my predecessor, Olivier Neven, and it's only fitting that we continue the Press Box Hat Trick the way we left it off. So thank you for being here today. How are you, man?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me. It's fun to be back. It's been a minute for sure. It's weird to be on this side of the of the mic, having to answer questions and not being the host, but I'm excited, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. It's weird for me too. This is my first one as a host, so bear with me. I don't think we'll have
For
millions.
sure.
As some of you may know, we were on SoundCloud before, but we are transitioning over to YouTube from now on. So this will be a video podcast. Had to grace you with that, fresh lineup of that
I,
elite.
I see that. I was just about to say I didn't get the memo. I might have went to get mine done. You should let me know, man. Now I'm gonna be a sight for sore eyes. I can't be the worst looking one on the
Nah,
show.
dude.
You.
Nah, man. Bro. Why do you think I had to have you on here? We had to set the bar real high for the first episode. So
Thanks, I appreciate that. I did put my Barca jersey on because I know everyone wants to see that.
yeah, I taped a couple jerseys in my background. As you
Yeah,
can
that
see
looks
there.
sick. What's
Took me
what's
a
the
while.
what's the Lakers one?
It's
Is that a
actually
jersey or is it shorts?
it's shorts. It's
Yeah, it's
Kobe
shorts.
shorts. So if you
Those are
see
crazy.
them,
Those go hard though. Where'd you get those?
I got them online. I saw them on TikTok, so
Yo, they're
had to cop
crazy.
those. Had to.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so I just want to know, you graduated. I took
I'm done.
a position. Hopefully, I can fill your shoes. What are you up to right now, Olivier? What are you doing in the world of sports?
Well, right now, so while I was working at the Link as the sports editor, while I was still studying at Concordia, I had taken on a job as a writer at this startup blog kind of site called the Raptors Insider that basically covers Toronto Raptors basketball. So I'm part of the news team. So I would write a lot of game recaps and like previews for games, and then any kind of breaking news, sometimes some analysis stuff. So I've been doing that since January, and it's been a lot of fun. Like it's my first foray into writing about professional sports, so it's been really cool. It's not paid yet. Hopefully we grow, we get big enough. To eventually monetize it. But for now, it's just gaining experience, having fun with a bunch of other dudes who are in the same boat. And then recently, I also was taken on by another site that covers basketball. They focus on Canadian basketball called On Point, and so they cover everything that has to do with Canadian basketball, all the athletes, whether it's pro or in college, even in AAU and stuff like that, men and women. And they do scouting too. They have an NCAA license for scouting. So some schools and organizations actually hire or can hire On Point to do scouting for them, to give them rundowns of players, whatever they need. So they took me on, and when things get rolling again in terms of sports and competition and tournaments and stuff, they're gonna have me kind of write and do some scouting in Quebec, because I think I'm the only writer based in the province of Quebec on their team. So yeah, that's just getting started right now. I already had one of my first article that went up for them, and yeah, it's kind of slow right now because the summer, but it's really exciting. I'm looking forward to the next few months.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's definitely awesome. For anyone that loves sports and that's not good enough to play professional sports, this is
Yeah,
the route that you want to go. You want to be able to
exactly.
talk about sports, write about sports for money. There's nothing
Yeah,
better than that, in my opinion.
yeah.
That's sick. That's awesome.
I had to give up on my dream of playing professional sports pretty early because I realized I was not good enough.
Yeah.
But the important part is that I dreamt about it for a bit, at least.
Yeah, yeah, we all got those
I was
dreams.
I was hopeful for a little until until I got older. So
I was hopeful till I got dunked on in 10th grade. So from
yeah,
there on,
yeah,
I switched my focus.
that'll humble you for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So also, there's a ton going on in the world of sports right now, whether it be NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs. The Habs suck. We're from
Mm,
Montreal.
yeah.
Very unfortunate, but we had to have seen this coming. Have you been keeping up with the hockey? What's up there?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, I've been watching the Habs game. I've been a Habs fan all my life. My sister's really into it now too. She's funny. She like goes on and off in terms of following hockey. Like for the past few years, she hasn't watched like one game, but now like all of a sudden this season she hasn't missed any. So she's really into that, and it also kind of dragged me into like following it really closely and watching it as much as I can. So yeah, it's that first game was really interesting. Obviously, we saw that Tavares injury, and that was pretty sickening. And it when you see that kind of thing, you don't really care much for what's to come in terms of the game. Like they could have stopped the game right there, and I wouldn't have cared. I feel like a lot of people feel the same way. They
Right.
ended up winning, and it was exciting, an exciting goal. But then the next two games, like was just really depressing, and it's just like I try not to get frustrated because like I it's not worth getting frustrated over. There's enough to stress about in the world to get frustrated over things like this. But it is kind of sad to see you have some hope, and then it's kind of like destroyed like that. But whatever. It sucks, but it's not the worst thing in the world. So yeah, so far it hasn't been great. I don't think it's going to be much of a series. So yeah, no, the Habs has not been great.
Yeah, I find it weird that they played a back-to-back also, like in the playoffs. Why would
Yeah,
they?
I thought that was super weird too. And then I saw that they did the same with the Edmonton with the Oilers and the Jets. So I thought it was something they were doing for the North Division because we started so late because they absolutely wanted to finish the Flames and Canucks games, which it was the dumbest thing ever. I don't know why they couldn't start the playoffs. They weren't in the playoffs. It didn't matter. They were playing for seeding. Like who cares? It was just so dumb. Like all the other series were going on. They're into like game 3, game 4 by the time we even got started,
It's this, dude.
and then now they have to rush
All
it.
about this.
It was just I just thought it was stupid. It
All
was it
about
was
the
kind of
money.
annoying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah. So have
but
you been?
I don't know. I've been trying to watch like a couple of the other games too in the NHL in the playoffs. But the thing is, like, because of how the divisions were set up this year, like I found like I wasn't really following the league as much as I would normally because the only games I was really not able to watch, but the ones that I was following closely were the Canadian division games. So yeah, I knew everything that had to do with the Canadian division, but any info or stuff that I got from for the rest of the league was through podcasts or reading stuff. So I felt like a weird disconnection with most of the league this year, and even watching the playoffs. Like I try to keep up with as much as possible, but I don't know. It's been a weird year, So I'm kind of like not considering this a really good year in terms of hockey following.
Yeah, I feel you on that. I actually think the other series have been great because there are
Yeah,
fans
for
in the
sure,
building,
for sure.
and at the same time, I feel like this Leafs Habs playoff series lost all its flavor. There's no
Yeah,
intensity. We played the Leafs like 48 times this year, so it's like,
yeah.
is it really that big of a deal if they're meeting in the playoffs?
Well, I mean, I think it is a big deal that they're meeting the playoffs because it hasn't happened in so long, and it's one of the biggest rivalries in North American sports and definitely in the league. Thing is that there's no fans in the building, there's no atmosphere other than the one generated on the ice,
Right.
and that's so distant from us. And it's intense on the ice. You ask the players, they're not going to tell you it's lacking intensity. There's tons of intensity, but we don't, as viewers from home, we don't feel it as much because there's no crowd. I mean, you see all the other series, there's tons of intensity because there's always a crowd to rile up the players to to cheer, to boo, whatever it is. And we don't have that in our series. So it's just like really quiet. Like, yeah, it's intense because the playoffs, there's so much on the line. Those guys are going to compete whether there's fans in the building or not. But it has been a little boring and lethargic to watch at times, not only because the Habs play that way, but also because there's no atmosphere, and hopefully the Habs can get to a game 6 somehow and have a couple fans in the building. Saturday, but I'm not too hopeful.
Yeah, it's wishful thinking for sure.
Yeah,
Tell you what, though, the NBA playoffs have been fantastic so far. That Knicks and Hawks game one that I saw was
yeah,
probably the best game that I've seen in 2 years. The
hmm.
atmosphere in Madison Square Garden was electric.
Yeah,
We need the
for
fans in the
sure.
building. There's such a major component to professional sports. We gotta have that. We gotta have that for sure.
It's really funny because like I was watching I was watching that game. I've been watching a lot of the other NBA games, and most of them have like a lot of fans, and so do the rinks in the NHL, most of them. And it's funny how like obviously they've been letting in fans, more and more throughout the year, but like it's funny how it's almost been night and day in terms of like we went from like empty arenas whatever to now like normal almost in the states.
15,000 people.
And it's, I mean, it's kind of indicative of how life has been in the states. I mean, the country never really shut down, but obviously things were a bit more quiet, and now because of the vaccination rates and whatever, and they're open up again, like things are back to normal, and we're still here kind of limping through this whole thing. um so it's bittersweet because like, oh yeah, like it looks like things are on the up, but then you just look outside and we're nowhere near in the same predicament. So so yeah, but obviously the playoffs have been fun to watch, the NBA playoffs, because of the crowd. The crowd makes it great. That game at MSG obviously was insane, and how how it went. Obviously, if it was a blowout, it would not have been as fun, but it was such a tight game, and with Trey making the shot at the end, and all the drama. So yeah, for sure. I mean, we're gonna have a lot more games like that throughout the playoffs, but it sucks that we can't see it closer to home.
Yeah, for sure. Like I'm actually writing an article about the importance of fans in the building, and it just made you realize why you actually fell in love with watching sports. Like it's just not the same, whether it be the NHL bubble, whether it be the NBA bubble. There was no intensity. Like it's different when you're pumping in crowd noise and you hear the same thing over and over again, as opposed to having 20,000 people in the building that are screaming, and every little movement they're they're gasping, and it's just a different dynamic,
Mm-hmm.
and it's imperative to having a great game, I think.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's nice to see that, like, you know, I mean, obviously last year we had the bubble and there was no fans in that. It was an odd atmosphere, but it's good to see that we're, that it was only a one-time thing kind of. We're not going to have it again, barring catastrophe, but,
Let's hope so.
like we're getting back to usual, back to normal. So that's fun.
Yeah, well, it's definitely important.
Hmm.
It
Yeah,
makes
for
sports
sure.
great. It makes sports great.
Yeah,
So
it's almost like we took it for granted. Now seeing it, it's like, oh my god, this is like, like it's so funny now seeing fans and like watching clips, of old highlights with fans. It's like, wow, like
that was
I've
real.
forgotten what it's like. Yeah, I've forgotten what it's like. I got too used to this, like these empty eerie arenas.
Yeah. Also, we text each other almost daily. Uh,
Hmm.
Glad that you're doing well as well.
Yeah,
So, have
thanks.
you been keeping up with the Jays at all?
Pretty loosely. I for the first few games of the season, I always get excited when baseball starts,
Yeah.
and then it kind of loses its thing. I've never been a big baseball person. I kind of got into it when the Jays were really good there a couple of years ago. That was fun. It kind of took the whole country by storm. So I follow loosely. I have the notifications on for the games. I get notifications for all the runs and stuff. And I texted you the other day about Vladdy.
Yeah.
So yeah, following loosely, but I can't say I watch every game. No, but it's definitely an exciting young team. Obviously, still finding its footing because they haven't really popped off like crazy, uh, but it's fun that we're kind of back in to being excited about the Jays after the kind of run we had a couple years ago where baseball became so big in Canada for a bit. I think we'll get there again.
Yeah, I definitely don't blame you for not watching every game. I mean, they could
Yeah.
get really long, and especially this year, their pitching sucks. So
Right.
I don't know if you were paying attention, but the other day they were playing against the Tampa Bay Rays. They were tied 7-7 in the 11th
Yeah.
inning. They gave up 7 runs in the top of the 11th.
Yeah.
Their bullpen is on life support right now. So
Well, it's funny because that's what I see is like it's almost like it's either shutouts or it's very high scoring games.
no in
It's
between. No in between.
it's crazy. So like it's they can score, they can hit. There's no problem with that. It's the defense that before the season we were talking about like the pitching had been bolstered and was looking better, and then who was it they got injured before the season?
Nate Pearson.
Pearson gets injured, and Rat Rourke was not good. So like it's just it's just been tumultuous, and I don't know, man. Pitching's a thing in baseball. It's like everyone
You need it.
always wants a pitcher. They're like, we're one pitcher away. We're one pitcher away. No matter what team you talk to, right? Can never
Yeah.
have too many good pitchers.
Yeah, that's true. Well, anyways, I think that about wraps it up for today. Just wanted a quick first episode to kind of inaugurate our YouTube series we'll keep going on with. We'll definitely do this again, Olivier.
For sure, man.
It's great catching up with you, bro. Thank you for being on. And
For sure.
I really appreciate
Thanks.
it, my guy.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun. It's nice to be back. I'm excited to see what this YouTube format's going to look like.
So
I hope I didn't look too bad for this one. I'll make sure that I look a bit better next time. I'll get my fade and
stop with all that.
My shape up done. But yeah, man, thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me, man. This was a lot of fun.
Of course, bro. Thanks.